His divine grace, Founder of ISKCON, Abhaya Karṇa, Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jai, Dear Most Merciful Lordship Shri Shri Radhakunja Bihari ki Jai, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev Mai Subhadra ki Jai, Shri Nathaji, Shri Balagopal ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Jai, Nitai Go Prema. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Are we on 14?
Yes.
14.
Please carry on.
I'll start. I just want to make sure we have the right section. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tatodaya Madiraya Nasta Prashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. Sorry, Prabhu, I thought you were, I didn't know you were looking up the text. We're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, text number 14. Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param Yan Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Eko Ratena Tatare Ham Atirya Sattvam Eko Ratena Tatare Ham Atirya Sattvam Pratyartam Bahu Dhanam Cha Maya Paresham Pratyaritam Bahudhanam Cha Maya Paresham Tejas Param Manimayam Cha Ritam Sirobhya Tejas Param Manimayam Charitam Sirobhya Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdhim Ananta Param
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdhim Ananta Param
Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Eko Ratena Tatare Hamatir Yasatvam
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 Pratyaritam Bahudhanam Chamaya Paresham Pratyaritam Bahudhanam Chamaya Paresham Tejas Paramani Mayam Charitam Sirobhya Tejas Padamani Mayam Charitam Sirobhya Please chant.
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdim Ananta Param
Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdhim Ananta Param
Eko Ratena Tatare Hamatir Sattvam
Eko Ratena Tatare Hamatir Sattvam
Pratyaritam Bahudhanam Chamaya Paresham
Pratyaritam Bahudhanam Chamaya Paresham
Tejas Padam Manimayam Charitam Shirobhya
Tejas Paramani Mayam Charitam Sirobhya Yad Bandhava Guru Balabdhim Ananta Param Eko Ratena Tatare Hamatir Yasatvam Pratyaritam Bahudhanam Chamaya Paresham Tejas Paramani Mayam Charitam Sirobhyaya Bandhava Guru Balabdhim Ananta Param Eko Ratena Tatare Hamatir Yasatvam pratyaritam bahujaram chamaya paresham tejasparam manimayam charitam sirobhya yadbandava, by whose friendship only, Kurubala Abdim, the ocean of the military strength of the Kurus, Anantaparam, which was insurmountable, Eka, alone, Ratena, being seated on the chariot, Tatare, was able to cross over, Aham, myself, Atirya, invincible, Sattvam, existence, Pratyaritam, drew back, Bahu, very large quantity, Dhanam, wealth, Cha, also, Maya, by my, Paresham, of the enemy, Tejapadam, source of brilliance, Manimaya, bedecked with jewels, Cha, also, Ritam, taken by force, Sirobhya, from their heads. Yadbandava Guru Balabdimanantaparam Eko Ratena Tatare Amatirya Sattvam Pratyaritam Bahujaram Jamaya Paresham Tejasparam Manimayam Charitam Sirobhya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. Where are we getting all the noise from? Why is it? What is that thing? Is it a phone or something? Can somebody turn it off? It's like having to compete with the music there. Oh. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it, and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows, and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. Please repeat. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean, in which there dwelled many invincible existences. And thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it, and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. Purport. On the Kaurava side, there were many stalwart commanders, like Bhīṣma, Droṇa, Kṛṣṇa, and Karṇa, and their military strength was as insurmountable as the great ocean. And yet it was due to Lord Kṛṣṇa's grace that Arjuna alone, sitting on the chariot, could manage to vanquish them one after another without difficulty. There were many changes of commanders on the other side, but on the Pandava side, Arjuna alone on the chariot, driven by Lord Kṛṣṇa, could manage the whole responsibility of the great war. Similarly, when the Pandavas were living at the palace of Virat, incognito, the Kauravas picked a quarrel with King Virat and decided to take away his large number of cows. While they were taking away the cows, Arjuna fought with them incognito and was able to regain the cows, along with some booty taken by force, the jewels set on the turbans of the royal order. Arjuna remembered all this was possible by the grace of the Lord. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshusmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Many people who give accounts of being brought to like a point of meeting face to face with death. It's like their whole past experience of life comes before them as a video they can look at and see. And here we have Kṛṣṇa revealing to Arjuna that he has left the planet, and Arjuna is now recollecting from past experience that he has had with Kṛṣṇa. And this brings to our own experience of consciousness simply by reading. These glorious teachings of Bhāgavatam are like windows into the relationships that were there on the planet amongst warriors. These relationships were of such a high nature that the military phalanx of these soldiers, like impenetrable. And like I was speaking about last time I gave class, I'm going to look it up again. I got kind of busy yesterday and didn't get a chance, but this Narayana Kavacha that is given in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for us to have knowledge of the means of being able to protect the temples of Kṛṣṇa, which will become cities in the future when the devotees of Kṛṣṇa are covering the planet. There won't be really any need for protection from outside military forces unless, of course, there are some invasions of maybe aliens from other planets. But as we see here as well in previous verses, the Lord Kṛṣṇa had access to all the planets in the universe. And upon request, he was from time to time bringing his wives to these very higher planetary systems that have flowers that we don't have here on this planet. And so these also are given to us for us to also put in our consciousness as memories now that we're having of Kṛṣṇa, because as we take these experiences that Arjuna, Sukadeva Goswami, and all of his revelations of the relationships that all these greatly exalted souls are having with Kṛṣṇa, this is becoming this truth, which is the substance we are made of, is truth. And this truth being made now a part of our consciousness, we are able to know what reality is. We are able to know the real substance of God's character, of God's personality. And by revealing the relationships to us, Bhagavatam opens the windows of our minds to be able to accept that Krishna empowers his devotees with abilities that they wouldn't have without him. And this is what Arjuna is bringing to our awareness and his recollection. So we have so many teachers in material academia that are giving knowledge of so many things in this world, which can, in many cases, be looked at as sciences, but they are not able to give the souls that are looking for perfection in every pursuit that they are making that understanding that gives us liberation from the limitations of this material world, which we see in every profound paragraph of Śrīla Prabhupāda's purports, revealing to us Krishna's nature and the nature of the relationships he was having with these people that were coming in contact with him. Now, we see from the life of Haridas, Namacharya, Haridas, the kind of relationship that he was having with Lord Chaitanya. And see, then we can make a comparison in that when Krishna was giving darshan to Lord Brahma 5,000 years ago, the relationship was of a different nature. And there is even brought out that at the foundation of the world, there was a different kind of a relationship that had not developed to the extent that it got to when Lord Brahma is associating with Srimati Radharani and Krishna both same time. See who got that opportunity on the battlefield. But see, Arjuna, in growing up with Krishna, had previously had this exposure as well, which brings him as a more close associate to Krishna by being a close associate of all of Krishna's closest associates. And as well, when we see in Śrīla Prabhupāda's life, he's revealing how close an associate of Krishna he is by giving us in completeness, as he makes it stated, as it is. We are receiving Krishna the way he is without any taint of Śrīla Prabhupada wanting to become Krishna or wanting to become a lord of everything or wanting to become wealthy or famous in this world. Śrīla Prabhupada, by the study of his life that we have and the many recorded conversations we have, we can see freedom, the revelation of a soul living a life free from those kinds of desires that most of us grow up in this world to be taught that is normal. To make ourselves famous and to want and desire to be all of these things in this world that everybody is looking towards fulfilling in their life when they are pursuing through the educational system of means of creating a career for themselves, which is somewhat removed from the lifestyle that Śrīla Prabhupada was calling young people to when their complete surrender to Krishna was enabling them to separate themselves from society as a whole and then take part in activities that are not requiring the educational system of academia, but now require simply the surrender. Krishna says, surrender unto sarvadharma parityaja, surrender unto me, and I'll take care of all those other somewhat seeming responsibilities that we have to society as a whole. And automatically, by the fulfilling of instructions given by Krishna for the devotees to take part in, then they fulfill all the other requirements, you might say, that society is putting upon the general population. I just heard yesterday, for societies to continue their existence, there needs to be at least, I believe it is 1.6, no, more, it's probably 2.6 births per family in order for them to just continue. Because when you consider the fact that there's a mother and father bringing children into the world, 2 children only replace them. And with the occurrence of abnormal deaths and accidents and things of this nature, 2 people in every family does not replace the previous generation. And so even with 2.6 births per family, which I think is what we're leaning towards now, is not actually enough to replace, which can be very dangerous for the society that is having enemies against it built up in a world force, which, see, we're seeing here. This is the same way. The Kauravas were outnumbering the Pandavas. But the same way that Arjuna is revealing how he was able to cross this seeming like ocean was because of Krishna's presence, even though they were outnumbered. So right now, as a population of devotees, we're outnumbered extremely, in the world. You want to take a percentage of how many devotees are actually following Krishna, serving God, and even in those spiritual paths, because I've been a part of Christianity. I was a part of Christianity for many years. And knowing the deep teachings given by their master, they're not following his teachings at all. So nobody is really getting the experience that they would be getting when they will be getting when the world is set in order. And as Śrīla Prabhupāda said, these books will become the law books, and that will last for 10,000 years. And see, in this way then, this that is considered to be normal in Krishna's presence then will become manifested more and more. As Śrīla Prabhupāda, giving us a glimpse of what the future would be like, is telling us, by telling us that demigods are waiting to take birth here, because this planet, having been visited by Krishna so recently, just 500 days of the demigods ago, we are entering into a time in which the world is going to be experiencing this movement of Krishna consciousness in a greatly expansive way. That we are in the basement, just the steps beginning to take part in the building up of this force that the Nam, Krishna's name, is going to have in the world. And as we take part in these little menial tasks, we are building up this spiritual energy eventually that's going to take over the world. And then in all the schools of the world, and every child will be taking prasadam from the very youngest, most ages. Then see, when all the population is only taking prasadam, then all the consciousness will be purified. All the interactions of human beings will be such, people will be elevating one another. I was getting a realization today, that Krishna is revealing to us the mood to develop with this chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The mood is, how can I serve you, Krishna? And then I reasoned in my mind, you know, when you go to a store, you need something. You're going there because you need something. And then you have now these people that are greeting you. And you need to know where something is, so you ask them. But what better greeting could there be in meeting another human being, especially for the first time? They say, first impressions are the long-lasting impressions. So what better greeting would there be than to say, how can I serve you? And this is the mood that Krishna is giving us the understanding of how to develop this mood by working with one another in this spiritual energy of his that puts us automatically in that energy by taking part in the arranged celebrations, in the arranged performances of activities that he gives, that he will spiritualize for us by glancing upon that which we have offered to him. So Krishna is so kind, and we are seeing by the quality of his character that he is of a giving nature always. And that which he gave to Arjuna revealed to be superior to all the military forces of the entire world at that time. These phalanxes, 11 phalanxes of those empowered with mantras that were the equivalent of atomic bombs at the time. So we can see that we're getting now in our experience a little bit of what is to come. Because when it takes full force in the world, everybody will be singing and dancing in the streets with beautiful songs. Can you imagine? See, you go to Vrindavan and you go down to Loi Bazaar. Loi Bazaar is kind of considered by, you know, the people serving in the temple to be like downtown and a little bit of Maya out there, right? But everybody is engaged in producing products which are related to the service of Krishna in the temple, and wearing clothing that is worn by the devotees to be acceptable with the proper etiquette in the temple. They're making paraphernalia to be able to offer. They're selling incense. All these seemingly city activities. You go in the United States, you don't see these kinds of things. They have incense, but it's to cover the smells, not to offer to Krishna, it's to cover the smells of the stench that they're creating by their normal daily activity, right? So when a devotee is going to buy incense, he's thinking of Krishna, the one he's going to buy it for. When someone else is going to buy incense, they're thinking of how they can make their own house smell nice and cover up the sense of the putrefying things that they've been putting into their bodies that are decaying in their garbage baskets. You know? So we have a different reason for doing the things that we do, even though it may look like we're doing the same things everybody else is. It is the intent of the heart. It is the mood that Krishna creates within us by association with us and giving that reciprocation we are longing for. In all these relationships we're looking for with each other, we're looking for perfection, we're looking for happiness. And that is what Paramatma, Super Soul, is giving us to be able to experience with this chanting. Constantly available. So we are finding that too, reading Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the kinds of relationships, the kind of experiences we are having with one another is of such a nourishing nature. The experiences are described as the same kind of experiences we would take to be that experience by taking in food. And that is because the soul, being made of the substance of truth, is in fact nourished by the substance that it is. So the pastimes we share with one another about Kṛṣṇa that are real substance of eternal truth gives us, in realization of those activities as souls, nourishment of that which we are really made of. That truth, as Satchidananda that we are, is that truth. That is eternal truth as well, that we are being brought to the realization of, and that Hridayananda Maharaj told us when he visited here, and I suspect Kṛṣṇa is giving him realization that the normal population of people who don't take into consideration the need for God's truths to be given to mankind, because he has put into the English language, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, much like Śrīla Prabhupāda has. He said that Vedavyas, Śrīla Vedavyas, the very Sri Vedavyas that we are reading Bhagavatam from, is now writing ISKCON Leela. Vedavyas is now engaged in producing ISKCON Leela. So this is amazing if you think about it. As well, he received the understanding that Ashvatam, who I think for the most part is looked at by most people who have read the history of the Mahabharata and all like that, look at Ashvatam as being probably the most abominable of all the participants in battle, in the war. And yet, Hridayananda Maharaj is saying that he is going to take the position in the future that Vedavyas himself is in. And Vedavyas himself is literary incarnation of Kṛṣṇa. If not Shaktivesh Avatar, he is Vishnu Tattva himself. So see, this is revelation, this is indication of the nature of association with Kṛṣṇa, but also the effects that Kṛṣṇa has once super soul is realized by the soul. Super soul will take the soul from the most degraded place there is and lift them up into a place where they can become a humble servant. See, in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, being that humble servant is exalted by Kṛṣṇa as being the highest place to be in, because he won't even allow one who offends his devotee to be forgiven by himself. If you commit offense against the devotee, you have to go to that devotee to find forgiveness. So Kṛṣṇa sees his devotees as that important to him. And so we see that in all that Kṛṣṇa is doing, even coming to this world to a great extent, is for the benefit of all those who have left, to bring us back. And what we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Leela with Murari Gupta, that his prayer is that if it would be possible for Kṛṣṇa himself, the supreme person of all, could put upon him all the suffering necessary for all the living entities in the entire universe, he would want to take that suffering himself so that they could be set free from the bondage that this material universe has brought us all as souls into when we seek to serve ourselves, the senses of our physical bodies, and seek to satisfy the urges of that I, me, and mine that we have all been tainted with, the false ego. And it is just putting us in the opposite place of servant by us wanting to develop the idea that I'm the master, I'm the controller, I know everything and I control everything. But this is the aim of most people. And they make plans. Well, I'm the controller, so I can tell you what I'm going to do for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. They have the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, all these ideas. As if mankind can write his own script. You know, they have movie actors. These people, in their attempts, and many times it's out of sincere wanting to provide with humanity at large the means of being able to see the difference between good and evil. In many productions of film that is accepted by the general public, they try to aim in that direction. But again, when people are lacking in the understanding of self-realization, they have no means of being able to give that understanding that brings liberation. And that's what every single literature, that's what separates as well. Every single literature of this transcendental subject matter discussed in the Vedas, in the entirety of the Vedas, which is bringing us to the fulfillment of the love of God, which is Krishna's wanting to bring us all to the awareness of and the completeness of the experience of, which gives his most close disciples the ability to help us to understand where we are when we read in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And all the various levels of love of God are described. We can find ourselves there and realize what we need to do in order to become a little closer to Krishna, a little more advanced, one step closer. But that we conceive of ourselves as advanced, we must retain that mood. How can I serve you, Krishna? And in this way, our entire lives are sanctified. Whatever mistakes we may have made in the past, if we continue in that mood, Krishna, I am your servant, please engage me in your loving service, and taking the promise of Krishna in our hearts to know that by that request, Krishna will faithfully honor that request and engage us in his service. And that engagement keeps us free. And it keeps us on the mark, free from sinful activity that would also cause us to be bound by the effects of karma, and lifts us out of the dregs of the consciousness contained by those who are living for the sake of karma, wanting to develop good karma. That's what this building, I want a palace for myself. I want a kingdom for myself. I want to rule this thing. This is all the development of false ego, I, me, and mine. And when we see in Śrīla Prabhupāda's life, every temple made was independent of his own possession. It was Krishna's temple. And we see the difference in Śrīla Prabhupāda's establishing it that way, in the way that so many others come along. In Christianity, you see almost every leader establishing what they believe to be their unique form of Christianity, more pure they're proclaiming than the form that came before them. That's how they're gaining their fame. Śrīla Prabhupāda's fame is that he gave it exactly as it is, not trying to change it to like it to his own lifestyle or anything like that. But he gave Krishna's words as they are, and that is the force that is going to transform this world when people come to understand the effects. See, People having little knowledge of God make demands of God where God is in the spiritual world is distinctly different and made distinct from the place he is in when he is inhabiting these bodies that we are sharing with God. God has shared this ability to experience life with us in the bodies that we are, but he comes with us to give us the knowledge that we need. So Krishna doesn't need to speak English himself in that place where he is in Goloka Vrindavan. But Super Soul, when we pray, has knowledge of every experience we have been through. So, this concept of Super Soul is there in Christianity. I don't know to what extent it is there in Islam. I'm not familiar enough. I've read 3/4 of the Quran, which was as far as I could get. If you read the Quran, you will find that those who are now considered to be terrorists in the world are engaging in those acts demanded by the Quran. Demanded by the Quran. You must kill the infidels. And it was given, if Muhammad was a person, it was given to him for a time and circumstance that was necessary for the people that he was surrounded by because of the tribal barbarian people that they were, which could not be controlled by other means. But when you have laws being given such that they have to be told, do not steal, do not kill, do not cause harm, it is because those people are engaging in those activities. So as we see in Krishna consciousness, we are being given laws. We have 10 laws that we recite every morning, which are offenses against the holy name. These laws are being given to people who are of such elevated nature that their constant engagement in their consciousness, in their minds, in their everyday conversations is all about God. So God sets his laws as guidelines for us to know how to most effectively speak about God. And if people don't have full knowledge by that which, they take their master, the Christians take their master, they call Jesus, which is a name that has been changed, which the Bible they read as saying that it is God's truth, says that should never be changed. Not one word should be changed. And see here, Śrīla Prabhupāda fulfilling all the requirements of all the sacred literatures of the world without changing one jot or tittle, not one little bit. He's giving to us the purest form and telling us it is necessary to have this in its purest form so that we don't base our faith upon speculation, mental speculation made by those who are formulating ideas in their minds for their own benefit, which deprives humanity of the benefit they will get from people who are practicing the way God lays it out. And they only have that ability, as Arjuna is revealing here in this verse, by the association of Krishna. And the Supreme Person, Krishna, is giving us the understanding of the very means of being able to have that very same association with him. Constantly, on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. Any question in our minds, we can have full answer and knowledge of by this communion with Krishna. We see in Śrīla Prabhupāda's life an example when he was being asked by disciples. He would pause for a moment and then immediately give the advice that Kṛṣṇa, in the form of Super Soul, had given to him. He had this close communion with Kṛṣṇa constantly. This is Śrīla Prabhupāda's revelation to us of the kind of association available through the application of these teachings. And when we all as human beings take these teachings seriously to put into our lives and apply these teachings, we will also have those same experiences of consciousness that Kṛṣṇa himself, the Supreme Person, is giving us the means to be able to experience. He wants human beings to know him perfectly and to have such a relationship with them that they know the nature of themselves, the substance of the soul, and to know the blissfulness of the experience of knowing that, the ecstasy of knowing the relationship with God is the satisfaction of everything we're looking for. And he is Kṛṣṇa, that Supreme Person. He is that which we are looking forward to, everything else that we look to. And he is the fulfillment of that. Now we just go about our day dedicating it to him, and we will find in that dedication the fulfillment and the satisfaction we are looking for as having taken birth to experience Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of God. Any comments, any questions, any realizations anyone would like to share? John. John. Droṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Such a great privilege. Now that we have, like every class going around the world, anybody can look at it. Anybody can watch, see these teachings of Bhagavatam. I don't know how to turn that on and off. The camera's still on. I don't know how to turn it off. You know how to turn it?
I don't know how to operate.
You don't either. We're still live. Good.
Kṛṣṇa has unlimited capacity.
Duh.
Regardless how big army
Yeah, that
come
is.
overhead it, didn't matter.
There's no such thing. Prabhupada loved to do it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare
What is it? Yes.
Thank you.